Welcome back to another episode of Things You Should Have Learned as a Kid, but you didn't, so I'm going to teach you. Today I'm going to teach you how to change a tire. You ever get stuck on the side of the road or get a flat tire? You'll know how to now. First, I'm going to show you where most of your stuff to change a tire is going to be at in your car. You're going to open your trunk, lift this little carpet, and this is usually where your stuff would be. Mine's gone, but that's where you'll find your jack and all the things to get your tire off. So what you're going to want to do first, the car's still on the ground, you're going to get on the lug nuts, and with the weight of the car still on the ground, you're going to break the lug nuts loose. So you could do it usually by hand, but if you can't, and you have a breaker bar from your truck or car, you just step on it, and it'll do it. So the reason for breaking the lug nuts loose while the car's on the ground is because if you try to do that with it jacked up, and you're pushing really hard, the car could fall off the jack. Next, you're going to find out where to jack up your car at. Your jack points can be anywhere from the frame, or some cars have actual jacking points that are little square cutouts underneath the car. If you can't find yours, just do a quick Google search or look at your manual in the car. I have a floor jack, so I'm just using the floor jack to make it easier to show you guys. Super easy now. You just unscrew all the lug nuts until you get them all off. Once they're all off, you're going to lift it up and just basically pull it off of the car. Then you would grab your spare, which would be in your trunk of your car, underneath your car, and put your spare on. As so. And then just hand screw in the lug nuts real quick. Okay, this step's very important, so listen. You're not going to tighten in a circle. You're going to tighten like this. You start here, then you go here. So if you tighten this one, don't tighten this one next. Go directly down so the wheel becomes tightened evenly. But once you get them tight enough to where you can't do it anymore by hand, you're going to lower the car. You want to do this as slowly as possible. A little slower than I did. And then you're basically going to tighten as hard as you can by hand. You do want to torque to spec, so if you don't have a torque wrench, don't worry. When you get your wheel back on and you go to a shop, they'll torque it down for you. And now you know how to change a tire.
If you feel like your Spotify sound quality has been ass, even though you have all the settings turned up to highest quality, you're not crazy. Stop gaslighting yourself. I'm gonna tell you how to fix it. First, open your settings and then go to playback. Turn off the audio normalization. That's what's making the quality bad. It's trying to make everything the same volume. You're welcome.
How can I explain myself?
I heard the best hack on how to recover from this. I heard this years ago. I don't remember what podcast I was listening to, but I was like, I have to remember this hack. Basically, when you screenshot someone's message and then you accidentally send it back to them instead of sending it to like your friend that you meant to send it to, just type out, my phone has been glitching and not all my messages are coming through. Is this the last message you sent? And it's like definitely still awkward, but at least there's an explanation in place. So I hope that helps.
So you know those sounds you hear across TikTok? And the TV, movie, and music clips people use. Well, here are two websites to help you find all of them. So the first is called My Instance, and this has got all of your short sounds that people tend to use across TikTok. And then the second is called getyarn.io. This is going to allow you to type in a phrase and it will pull up a load of clips that have that phrase in.
I love you, I love you, I love you.
You may have already heard you can do this. But did you also know you can do this? My favorite method for regrowing green onions is putting them in potting soil. This is going to provide essential nutrients, and believe it or not, it's actually lower maintenance than keeping them in water. But regardless of how you do it, I highly recommend regrowing these. When properly cared for, they can continue to regrow for months and will always be on hand when you need them. Now, I can't show you how to raise chickens to produce your own eggs, but I can show you how to grow some of your favorite veggies indoors. Hit the like button if you want to see more videos like this.
As someone who speaks 4 languages, here are 5 tips that I think will help you get fluent faster. First one is to start watching contemporary movies and TV shows in a genre that you love. I'm sure most people who have learned a language have been told to watch movies and TV shows in that language. However, you should be watching stuff that is with people your age that has been released recently. And this might sound weird, but I specifically recommend watching reality TV if you like it, because the type of language that is used in reality TV is very contemporary. They use a lot of slang. They speak to each other in an informal way that you're not going to learn so easily in a classroom. Netflix is a great place for this. You can watch like the popular reality TV shows like The Circle and Too Hot to Handle in French, English, Spanish, Portuguese. I think there's even like a Japanese Love is Blind now. So I think Netflix is a great place for this. Second is to repeat out loud what you hear while you're watching these TV shows. So basically you're talking to yourself and back at the TV, but it helps you practice what you're hearing and then helps you remember and then use them later. And I think of it as being like a little parrot. Next one is also going to sound kind of familiar, but I'm adding a little bit more. So listen to music in that language, but not just any music. Make sure it's in a genre that you like enough to listen to on repeat all the time, to the point that you're memorizing the lyric. Because if you're memorizing the lyrics, you're going to remember those words, those conjugations of verbs. One of my favorite examples of this in my own life was the song Soñar Contigo by Zenet. And it's a song in Spanish, and they use a ton of subjunctive. And so that actually helped me learn the subjunctive tense by just loving the song so much. Next is to label everything in your house in that language. This is especially helpful for beginners, but I would argue that there are things in everyone's house that they don't know the specific word for, and if you don't, then label it until you remember it. When I took Arabic several years ago, I don't remember much of it, but what I do remember are the words that I labeled in my house. Last, and maybe most importantly, find ways to immerse yourself in that language, whether it be a language group or by traveling to the country. That is the way that you will learn fastest.
So I'm a vet, and this is where I tell you tips about your pet that you may not have known. Did you know that about 15 minutes of sniffing can equal a 1-mile walk for your dog? Well, it's true. This is called mental work, and it's a form of enrichment. So you don't always have to go out and run 30 miles with your pet. I actually don't recommend this. Instead, you could let them sniff for 15 to 30 minutes, change up your walking route, and I promise you they will be mentally fulfilled and tired. But next time you're out on your walk and they want to sniff, let them sniff. Keep being a great pet parent.
I'm going to show you how to get a fire started with an apple and an empty lighter. Do this safely like I am. If you didn't know, apples are coated with a thin layer of wax. This is done to seal the moisture in the apple and increase the storage life. It also makes them look shinier and more appealing. This wax is flammable and you can scrape it off with a knife. So scrape it into a pile of fine powder. Then you want to pry the hood and the wheel guard off of your empty lighter. Then take your lighter, hold it upside down, and turn the wheel back and forth. This is going to build up dust from your lighter's ferrocerium rod. And the more dust you have, the bigger your spark will be. And I'm using paper just so you can see it better. And just to prove that this lighter is empty, I'm going to chop it in half. There's no fluid, but you'll still get a spark. Take all your ferrocerium powder and dump it onto the apple wax. The ferrocerium dust should spark very hot and ignite the wax into a small flame. Then I'm going to get some other good tinder like birch bark to catch the flame and extend it. Now, you just want to give it a spark. And we have made fire.
If you're weeding your garden, don't throw the weeds away.
You'd be throwing away a ton of amazing nutrients.
First off, collect all of your weeds in one place. Ideally, you do this before the weeds have produced any seed heads, but even still, you can dump it out on a cardboard sheet and let them dry until they're completely dead.
When they're completely dry, you can toss them into your compost bin much like you would any other material. And that's how weeds become free fertilizer.
3 ways to make your fast fashion last as long as possible. Zip up your zippers. The teeth could snag other fabrics in the washer and lead to tears. For clothing with buttons, do the exact opposite and leave them open. This will help prevent the holes from stretching or ripping. Wash your washing machine. Grime, hard water deposits, and even mold can spread onto your clothes.
Do you know what this is? If not, this video can literally save your life. This is Narcan. It's an overdose reversing drug. I had to use this for the first time last month because one of my closest friends did laced drugs behind my back in my place, and I had to use it to reverse his overdose. It doesn't work for all drugs, but it works for a lot of common drugs that people overdose on. So make sure that you know what this is, that you have this on you at all times, because you never know when you need to save someone's life.
Here's a cheap, eco-friendly way to control mosquitoes. We encourage you to avoid mosquito fogging because it kills all of the insects in your yard, which is devastating to your local ecosystem. So instead, fill up a bucket with water and add a small amount of hay or straw. Then add a mosquito dunk, which are available at most hardware stores. Each of these covers up to 100 square feet of surface area, so for a bucket, you just need part of one. It uses a natural-born soil bacterium that kills mosquito larvae but is non-toxic to humans and pets. Leave your bucket out in the sun to ferment. It will attract the mosquitoes in the immediate area, which will lay their eggs there, but the eggs won't hatch. If you have young kids, you probably want to put the bucket up and out of reach. And you can add a stick so that critters that fall in there unintentionally can crawl back out. Switch out your dunks every 30 days, and if you have a larger property, add more buckets. Join the Homegrown National Park movement by adding your native plantings to our map, and follow for more biodiversity tips.